Maybe you, both of you can introduce yourself, just to begin.
Ik ben Jochem Paap. My name is, my artist name is Speedy J, and that's all there's to it, I guess.
You're from Rotterdam.
I'm from Rotterdam, yeah, Rotterdam. Feyenoord.
Yeah. I'm Chris Liebing, I'm from Frankfurt, Germany.
Welcome. You're both very well-known producers and artists. What gave you the idea to actually start working together and form a project called Collabs?
Well, about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I asked him to do a remix for me, which gladly he did, and he did an amazing one. And after that, I had a tour going on through various cities in Germany with all the remixes of certain tracks I had done before. Like the others were like Adam Beyer and Steve Rachmat and Gaetano Parisi, Marco Carola, and a couple more. And he was doing live sets on that tour. And that was basically the first time we met and the first time we sort of played together on stages. Not really together, like behind each other, like he played and then I played. And that was like the first moments we sort of met and found that things were working well, sort of. And then the rest was him.
Yeah, well, the rest, the continuing of the story is that I started the Collabs collaboration series on Novamute, and I invited people to collaborate with me that I really like or admire. And I was planning to do a series which involved a single release for each collaboration. And the first one I did was Adam Beyer, the second one was with Litteron, and I did the third one with Chris. But when we met and we we knew each other already, but when we got in the studio, we generated such a lot of material that we decided to do another single. And after that, we decided to do an album because it was just going very well, and we got along really well, and we had a good workflow and productivity, and you know, so that's why we did an album, and now we're here on this tour, which is basically there to promote the album. Yeah. But basically, we're starting to see this collaboration live thing now as a separate thing already, because it's basically taking the collaboration to a new level, because we're, you know, finding ourselves in something which we would have never thought of happening. It's going really, really well, and we surprise us constantly, surprise ourselves and each other.
Yeah. It's as he said, very surprising, and as long as it keeps us surprising and so inspiring for ourselves, because we're sort of adding up. We're not like verses, you know. It's not like that he plays a track and then I play a track. It's a complete. We more feel like a band. We even have a little piece of paper where little notes are written down, so we can like communicate during the set. Like, I have to take a piss, or you take over for a moment, or whatever, you know.
Yeah, so, but also, you know, we need to communicate a lot, you know. Because we are improvising, and sometimes things are happening which one of us feels is really good, and the other one thinks, well, I'm just jamming away, you know. So we have things on the paper like stretch it, you know, like this is good what you're doing, you know. Go on. Yeah. And it's really exciting.
And that's one of the key things, actually. Sometimes as a solo artist, you're on stage, you're doing something, and you're not really aware in that moment that you're doing something really well, or you're not aware in that moment that you're doing something really bad in that moment. Yeah. But having another one, like, sort of like being in the same flow, in the same situation, and you're doing something, you're like, yeah, that's cool, and then he's standing there like, oh, stretch it, or I'm like, oh, keep that going, I can add something, yeah. And the result is there's so many things happening unplanned which would never happen alone. And that's the fantastic thing. It's like what we do is it's only possible if we do it together.
Yeah, you really, for the stuff we've been doing, you really need 2 minds and 4 hands, because there's so much going on. If we listen back to sets, we are like, who did that? You know, what was going on there? Because there's so many layers and sudden changes or things that evolve in a certain way. I mean, it's 2 hands and 2 minds constantly working on something, and it results in things that are like far bigger than you could ever do individually, or, you know, playing you know, against each other. We are really jamming as a band, you know, like playing with each other.
And each time before we go on stage, we hope we can reproduce that, because it's not plannable.
Yeah.
So the same thing for Inner City. We hope we can reproduce it.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes I like over to him, like, "Hey man, take away that right cymbal," and then he says, "No, it's you, it's you."
It's you.
And a question for people who don't really understand what artists actually are doing on stage. With they maybe see some equipment and laptops, and in your case, two people looking at each other and looking at their equipment.
It's exactly the same for us. We don't understand either.
No, we have no clue what we are doing.
No.
We do know the technology, and we've chosen the technology that gives us the maximum amount of freedom to perform the way we want to perform, which is basically just grabbing stuff from different records,
we can
loops.
explain, like, it's not a joke that we don't really know what we're doing, but we can explain for these people like what we have as a source. As a source, we have as sound sources. We have basically 4 laptops, which 2 of them provide tracks by various other producers, which we basically on the fly can rearrange and cut apart and do other things with it. And 2 other laptops basically provide effects and our own samples and live sets. And additionally to that, we have a lot of machinery like synthesizers, bass synthesizers, drum machines within our setups, which we basically just use to add layers and just whatever we think of in that moment. Oh, this little drum pattern could fit to this, or this little bass line could fit to what's running from his side. And so it's a constant adding and subtracting.
DJs have to work with pre-arranged material. I mean, if you play a record, it starts at the beginning and it ends at the end. You can choose to manipulate the sound settings, like the EQ. You can take away the bass and stuff, but you cannot rearrange the order at which the track is playing. And that's what we actually do quite a lot with computers. You can just skip through songs, you can shorten up breaks, you can lengthen the intro, you can even choose to just play a 4-bar passage from a record and play nothing else, you know. And that's how our sets are built up. There's like fragments of records, our stuff, you know, individual sound loops, whatever, you know, the stuff that we have generated in the studio, which has never ended up in a record or in our productions, like, you know,
maybe even
loops we've done.
Like we always record the sets, and I've been already like cutting out nice parts of a set, like sort of basic parts, which we again recycle in new sets.
Yeah.
So it's chaos complete. So basically, if people look at it and see the whole machinery, it's basically all sound sources, which we in that moment try to manage. And
we rearrange and we deconstruct and reconstruct in real time, like when it happens, you know.
So if you compare that to a DJ, for instance, which most people will understand the idea that you have one record and you mix another record in, but you use many more sound sources than just 2. But
we have shitloads, and sometimes we have. When I listen back to some parts of the set, you can actually hear like 6 layers going on. You know, like a right cymbal from a laptop, and you know, a kick drum from a drum machine, a bass line from a 303, and a snippet of a record on the other laptop. So it's like, you know, this creates like this whole new you know, dimension of sound, like this whole new arrangement, new composition in real time. I mean, since I've started using laptops for music, sometimes I play stuff which I don't even know the origin from. You know, it's like this sound file, and it sounds nice. Maybe it's some unreleased record. You remember I played this one track which I played to him, and I thought I got it off him. So I thought, I've been playing your song. You know, this song, it just had a date on it, nothing else. And he said, I don't know that record. And it's apparently I've played this track to death, and it's by a friend of his that he shared a studio with, and it got never released. So I've been playing it to death, and it never got released.
And I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, and he didn't even know it, and I got it off him. You know?
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
Yeah.
And well, you're an example, and these are quite rare actually, of people actually improvising on a dance stage. Most live acts don't go that far. It's much more difficult. That's one of the reasons not many artists actually dare to go so far. But why do you like it so much to do it like that?
Well, first of all, it comes in handy that we both have a long-term experience of performing on stages. So it takes away like all the basic problems you probably would have. Like, of course, we encounter problems during our sets, but we sort of know a way around it that no one noticed that we actually have a problem. And the really big thing behind it for us, which gives us so much, is that things can happen which you have never planned, and they're better than expected. And there are moments sometimes we look at each other like, what is going on? Like, I'm not going to touch anything anymore. It's like so good right now. Wow, leave it going. And these are the moments which are so rewarding, and because you could never plan it, and it just happens in that very moment. We probably never going to be able to recreate that moment as well. And this is the great thing about it.
But it works really well. It's almost too big to control, but it's just manageable. Yeah. And the thing is that I've always believed in playing live, because there's absolutely no way that you can get to that level of intensity with music if you pre-program it, because the key factor with playing, whether it's DJing or playing live, is communication with the crowd. And you cannot communicate with the crowd if you play back a recording which is done in some studio, you know, drinking some coffee like 10 in the morning, you know what I mean? That's not the same vibe. And you can sort of plan a little bit what the reaction of the crowd is going to be, but if you don't have this instant control over your music while you are looking at the crowd and while you are enjoying the music with them at the same time, you're never going to get this connection going. So, and once you lose them, you lost them forever. So it's a key that you have to sort of grab their attention very early on in your set, and just take them. You can take them anywhere you want, and it's actually easier doing it that way than playing back pre-recorded material, because you know have had many different setups playing live. Some were based more on pre-recorded material than others, but the last 10 years I've done nothing but like complete improvisation. And if I would go back to like pre-recorded material, I would be embarrassed to death and scared to death, because if this record or this recording is going somewhere you don't think it's gonna be nice for the crowd at that moment, you're like, there's nothing you can do. You're like, oh no, this break is too long, you know, or this is coming up and I don't want it, you know. That's so embarrassing. Yeah. So it's actually, I feel more comfortable improvising because I can always react on what's going on, you know.
And that's one thing which we can, so far we've learned on our tour to characterize our sets is it's very intensive, like for us as well as hopefully for the crowds. During our tour we are learning so much about how we perform, and I learned so much about how myself as well. Yeah. That is such an incredible experience. Yeah, it's not only the music, it's like after every gig so far, and we've been on tour now from today on up till today 6 weeks. And it's been a couple of gigs, and we cannot really compare the gig from last night, for example, anymore to the first gig of the tour. That if we think about the first gig of the tour, it even seems a little embarrassing now. And it's so fantastic, and that's the point where you were talking about, like, what is the reason you want to do it like on the fly, or basically improvisation wise. We're not only like having that moments on the stage, which I explained earlier, it's also like you learn so much about yourself in that moment. After every gig we're looking at each other, ooh, what was that again? Yeah. You know, it's like, ooh, well, you fucked up at that moment, but that moment was great, and this and this and this, and we're just, it's amazing. It's just a great time right now.
Yeah, the funny thing is, people may know Chris from the guy who's like this, with his big smile behind the decks, you know, waving his arms and stuff. And now, during this tour, sometimes he's like bent over his little.
I'm standing there, I'm looking at my little machines, and then I'm looking over at Jochen, like this. And I was like,
okay, so you changed personality, kind of, because Jochen was always the very serious guy.
We're morphing, sort of. We're evening out. That's a good thing.
Yeah, balancing out.
Yeah, we're balancing out.
That's. I mean, you both worked with other people also. But there was a moment in your first collaboration that you found out that working together was fun and actually produced a lot of results.
Well, I just saw his studio and I wanted to stay there. I was sitting down like, I'm going to stay in this studio. I'm not going to leave. Here.
No, but it's true. It's like it's what you say. I mean, in some collaborations, there's like this phase of politeness and trying to find each other's sort of true identity. But we didn't really have that much problems in the beginning. We just sat down and we started jamming like the first day, and it really hasn't changed much. There's no embarrassing moments like trying to do something to compromise. And the good thing also is like in a good collaboration, there's you create this environment or this space which is not existent for each of the collaborators individually, and which means that it only exists when the two of them get together. And that's where we try to be as most as we can, because that's where the interesting stuff happens. Because basically the combination in the studio as on stage, works very, very well because of that shared thing, which is non-existent for each of us. We would be quite not as confident playing the stuff we do now and producing the stuff we do now if we would have done it on our own, But together we have that confidence, and we sort of, we like it. We like the way where it's going. So
that's one of the reasons there always have been bands compared to just one person on a stage.
Yeah. I think we should have accepted we are like a band now.
Yeah, we're a band.
Well, it's more fun, and you can. Well, it's more fun.
Yeah, it is more fun. But it's not only more fun, but it's also more productive and more. You have more confidence in going outside your usual space where you would normally think. You get challenged by the other person to do things that you thought you would never do, and that's really great because you learn a lot about yourself and about each other, and basically it's all the most important aspects of collaboration is the human element, about learning about these things and accepting about how you do things yourself, and seeing yourself in a different way, and it's a very learning process.
Well, and I hope you guys come by at Inner City.
Yeah, be there in front.
Be there.